Good morning, and welcome to your daily Farm and Home Show, brought to you by the University of Kentucky Cooperative Extension Service. And now, here's your host. Good morning and welcome to your Farm and Home Show. My name is Joanna Coles, and this morning we're speaking with Dr. Ellen Crocker. She's with the University of Kentucky as an Extension Forest Health Specialist there. Good morning, Ellen.
Thank you for having me today.
Well, I'm so glad you're here today because I think you're going to talk about something that a lot of people are interested in. A lot of times we find these interesting plants and we might plant them, or maybe we inherit them with our home, but then they start to take over.
I think I'm not alone in dealing with this problem of invasive plants.
Yes.
So not all non-native plants are bad. There are some that we love for their flowers because they're resistant to insects and diseases, or maybe because we like eating their fruit. But the invasives, the ones that aren't from here, and they're really bad, either for the environment or because they're in your backyard and you cannot get rid of them to save your life, are a real pain. And there's so many different types. New ones are always arriving. They come in all different shapes and forms. There are invasive trees, there are invasive bushes and shrubs, invasive grasses and smaller plants and vines for sure. So many different invasives, and hard to distinguish them sometimes from your natives.
Absolutely, and some people say, well, why do they sell them if they're invasive?
Well, a lot of them were brought here for a reason. Some of them were accidentally introduced. Some of them were brought here because they grow really well. They can tolerate a broad range of different habitats. They don't get as much pest problem as some of our natives. So there's a reason why they were brought here. People plant them in their landscape, but then they get out of control, both in your yard, but also out in the wild. Whether you're talking about an old field site, a meadow, a forest, they can really take over and prevent our native plants from doing what we need them to do. And I think that's why they're such a big problem.
Absolutely. Now, you brought several examples here, so let's talk about a few of these today.
Yeah, so there's no shortage of invasive plants, unfortunately. This one is one that I've been seeing more and more of lately. Do you recognize it?
It looks like a pear.
It looks like a pear. So this is a callery or Bradford pear, and I didn't get this one from a yard, although they do grow there. People plant them because they have beautiful spring flowers, the white flowers really early. So that's why they're so popular. They also can tolerate, really poor sites. But a couple problems with callery pear. First, they don't last long. They kind of tend to fall apart, drop their branches. They're not terribly hardy in our area, as you might be aware of. Have you had some
after
experience
storms?
with that?
And then they're misshapen, and people are like, oh, I've waited all this time to have this beautiful tree, and now it's kind of destroyed.
So one problem. The second problem is when they were first marketed, they were marketed as having sterile seeds, and it turns out that's not true. The seeds are fertile and will go everywhere. So if you look in a lot of old field areas along roadsides, you'll see these little volunteers popping up all over. And not only are they taking over area that could otherwise be, growing some native trees that you like, but you can see right here, they have pretty sharp thorns.
Yes.
They can be a pain if you're trying to get through there. They could even pop your tires if you're driving through there. Make you really unhappy in a number of different ways.
Yes, so really not a good idea.
Yeah, not a good idea. I know that it can be pretty. I know some people like it, but it's definitely more than we bargained for with that one.
Absolutely. Now, what's this next one?
Oh, this is another one that perhaps you don't recognize in this form. It can come in two different forms. Sometimes it carpets the ground, and sometimes when it climbs up trees, it'll look a little different. This is wintercreeper. So really popular ornamental as well. People plant it. It is, especially in kind of shadier areas, it's evergreen, so it looks nice all year round, but then it takes over and it's really hard to get rid of. This is how it grows when it's growing up something, whether it's a tree or a fence. And you can see it's flowering here. It doesn't have very noticeable flowers, but it does make little orange berries that are eaten by birds and carried long distances. It really only flowers when it's growing up something as a vine, not when it's carpeting the ground. So one thing you can do to kind of prevent it from setting seed is to prevent it from climbing up a tree or up a fence and keep it low. Of course, then it's a big problem to remove. If it's in your yard along your fence, oh, that's, anyone who has this knows it's a real pain.
Yes, so don't plant that. And what would you recommend if somebody they do have an invasive? What is the best recommendation? Just knowing the species and knowing how to get rid of it?
I think that that's really good because what you're going to do really depends on where you're located, what species you have, how much of it you have, and how big it is. Will you be able to pull it up? Does it require something a little bit more, like cutting an herbicide? So it really depends on your particular situation. There's lots of great resources online that people can use if they want to go that route. And then in addition to eradicating it, planting natives.
Planting good stuff. And so we have all that information, and if you have questions, just make sure to contact us at your local extension office. Thanks for watching and have a great day. If you have questions about today's topic, please call the Warren County Extension Office at the number on your screen. Thanks for watching and have a great day.